Alright folks, let's talk tariffs. In the simplest terms, a tariff is like a tax on imported goods. Imagine you're buying a fancy baguette from France. A tariff would make that baguette more expensive, encouraging you to buy a bagel from down the street instead. Traditionally, governments use tariffs to protect their own industries. If a foreign country could make cheaper widgets, a tariff on those widgets would even the playing field for domestic widget makers. It's like giving your home team a little boost. Of course, things aren't always that simple. Tariffs can also be used as bargaining chips in international trade. That's where things get really interesting, so buckle up. In the high-stakes game of global trade, tariffs can be powerful weapons. They can be used to pressure other countries into changing their trade practices or to gain leverage in negotiations. Think of it like this. You wouldn't go to a flea market without being prepared to haggle, right? Let's say a country is dumping cheap steel on the market, undercutting domestic producers. Slapping a tariff on that steel can force them to raise their prices, making the competition fairer. It's a way of saying, hey, play by the rules or we'll hit you where it hurts your wallet. But hold your horses, folks. Before you go thinking tariffs are the answer to all our trade woes, remember that they're not without their downsides. More on that later. Using tariffs effectively is a bit like playing poker. You need a good strategy, a steady hand, and the willingness to walk away if the stakes get too high. First, you need to know what you're fighting for. If a country is engaging in unfair trade practices like dumping or intellectual property theft, you need to be crystal clear about what those practices are and why they're a problem. Second, target your tariffs strategically. Don't just slap a blanket tariff on everything. Instead, focus on specific goods that will have the biggest impact on the other country's economy. Third, communication is key. Let the other country know what your goals are and why you're imposing tariffs. Be open to negotiation and compromise, but also be prepared to walk away if you don't get what you want. Section 4. Case studies in tariffs from solar panels to steel. Remember that whole solar panel thing a few years back? The European Union accused China of unfairly subsidizing its solar panel industry, flooding the market with cheap panels and undercutting European producers. In retaliation, the EU imposed tariffs on Chinese solar panels. Then there's the US steel industry. In 2018, the Trump administration imposed tariffs on steel imports from several countries, including China, claiming it was necessary to protect national security. This move sparked a trade war, with other countries retaliating with their own tariffs on US goods. These examples show how tariffs can be used as a tool to address unfair trade practices, but also how they can lead to unintended consequences like trade wars. Section 5. The downside of protectionism. When tariffs backfire. Now for the downsides. Remember those cheaper widgets we talked about? Well, tariffs can make them more expensive for consumers. And if other countries retaliate with their own tariffs, it can lead to a trade war, which is bad news for everyone. Think of it like a food fight. Sure, you might get a few good shots in, but in the end, everyone's covered in mashed potatoes and nobody wins. Trade wars can drive up prices, hurt businesses, and slow down the global economy. So, while tariffs can be a useful tool, it's important to use them judiciously and to be aware of the potential downsides. Section 6. Beyond tariffs, exploring alternative negotiation tactics. Luckily, tariffs aren't the only tool in the toolbox when it comes to international trade. There are other, less confrontational options like negotiating trade agreements, mediating disputes, and working together to address common challenges. Think of it like this. You wouldn't try to solve every problem with a hammer, would you? Sometimes you need a screwdriver, a wrench, or even a good old-fashioned conversation. By exploring all available options and engaging in constructive dialogue, countries can work together to create a fairer and more prosperous global trading system. Section 7, the bottom line, tariffs as a tool, not a weapon. So, there you have it, folks. Tariffs can be powerful tools in international trade, but they're not a magic bullet. They can be effective in addressing unfair trade practices and gaining leverage in negotiations, but they also come with risks and potential downsides. Like any tool, tariffs should be used strategically and with careful consideration. It's about finding the right balance between protecting your own interests and promoting a fair and open global trading system. After all, in the global village, we're all in this together.